this presentation, I'm going to explain about what is human security. First of all, why is human security so important? Human security is needed because there's so much complexity in the world, and there are also many kinds of old and new security threats. And this distinction between old and new security threats largely comes from the fact that terrorism or national security are issues of which we term as old security threats. But we also have newer security threats that we consider, which is aspects of poverty, ethnic violence, human trafficking, climate change, health issues, and also in today's world what we call as economic and financial downturns. So these are the newer security threats, while the older security threats were the national security threats that we saw. So these kinds of security threats that we are looking at, they tend to acquire a transnational dimension. That means they're not just confined to a certain national geographic territory, and they move beyond these divisions of country and so on, and the traditional notions of human security. This idea of human security or how to address human security also requires a comprehensive approach, because all of these issues are interrelated, and the way they are interrelated, they're integrated with each other. If one affects the other affects the third, and so on and so forth. And so when we have to look at human security threats and how to tackle them, it is not through conventional means that they can be tackled. We need a newer consensus around acknowledging the linkages between these human security aspects and the interdependencies between development, human rights, and national security to address human security effectively. So then, what is human security? Human security in that sense therefore covers a whole range of different issues, and it boils down to looking at human freedom and human fulfillment. It means protecting the fundamental freedom of people, freedom that is the essence of life, and it means that you need to protect people from critical, persuasive threats and situations. And the only way to do this is through creating political, economic, environmental, military, cultural systems that bind people together and which are the building blocks for survival, livelihood, dignity, and so on, because all of the human security issues are based in these different realms of life. So then, human security brings together all the human elements of security, rights, and development, and it is interdisciplinary concept that has the following characteristics, which means the first important thing is that it is people-centered. The second is that it is multi-sectoral, spread across different sectors. It's comprehensive because the approach to addressing it has to be comprehensive. It's also context-specific, where in certain contexts, certain of those human security issues are more important than others. And it's also prevention-oriented, that there can be a means or ways to address this by looking at aspects of prevention rather than addressing it after the problem has occurred. The interconnectedness of threats and responses is very important. The threats to human security, they mutually reinforce, and they're interconnected in two ways. One, they're interlinked in a domino effect, in the sense that each threat feeds onto the other. So if you're looking at violent conflicts, then it can lead to deprivation, poverty, which can lead to resource depletion, infectious diseases, education deficits, and so on. And secondly, threats within a given country or area can spread into a wider region and can have negative externalities for regional and international security. So it's not just confined to one region. Because of the interconnected world, it spreads on from one region to another region and has an effect. So what does this mean when we're looking at policy making? This implies that when we are looking at ways to address human security issues, then it cannot be a fragmented standalone approach or response. What we need is a comprehensive approach that looks at the need for cooperation between different aspects or segments in policy making bodies. It means a multi-sectoral response that brings together agendas of security, development, human rights. So, what are the different types of security issues? One is economic security, where we're talking about persistent poverty or unemployment, food security related to hunger and famine, health security, where deadly infectious diseases are there, unsafe food, nutrition, lack of access to basic health care, and so on. Environmental security, which is environmental degradation, resource depletion, natural resources, pollution. Personal security, which is physical violence or crime or terrorism, child labor, domestic violence. And then you have also what is called community security, which means interreligious conflicts or identity-based tensions. And another type of security issue is political security, which means political repression, human rights abuses, and so on. These are just some of the broad human security issues. One can add even more to this list as one moves along. So, if people have to cooperate, if countries have to cooperate to address human security issues, the question is, how do states cooperate? And there are two broad views. One is the view of the realists, and the other is the view of the liberals. Now, what do the realists say? Realists say that the world is driven by competitive self-interest, and conflict is inevitable. And the struggle for power will always be there, and some countries will want to be in a more powerful position, or they would want to improve their security in comparison to other countries. And there is alliance building or alliance formation because we need peace and we need partnership for that. Now, here again, the classic realists differ from new realists. The classic realists say that states have to come together, they have to cooperate. And while they do that, there's also an inherent urge for them to dominate. And so, even when states cooperate, they'll try to dominate over each other. It will not be that everybody will be on an equal level playing field. Some countries will dominate, others will be dominated. And the new realists say that the cause of conflict is anarchy because there is no higher level authority, and when states do come together, they will only come together on the basis of morality or ideology and to help bring in certain benefits for themselves. And the liberals say that nations will cooperate with each other and they will find mutual interest. And it doesn't always have to be that somebody gains and somebody loses. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game. Here again, there are the classical liberals who say that people come together to find peaceful solutions, which is mutually beneficial for everyone. And neoliberals say that there is an interdependence of trade, economic, social, other exchanges, and for which because of which there is increased cooperation that is required, which limits conflict. So these are broadly the two ways in which scholars think the world cooperates. One, the realists who believe there will always be somebody who will gain in the situation, and it's not mutually beneficial for everybody, that cooperation. And so some states will dominate over others. The liberals think that states can come together because it can be a more equal playing field, because there is equal mutually recognition of mutual benefits for each other.